Have you ever considered that God appears in your life every day? Yes, literally every day. The only difference is that we don't recognize Him. In our imagination, we see God in some extraordinary form, descending from the sky, holding a divine radiance in His hands, or shining among the temple bells. But the reality is that He often appears to us in a very ordinary form. So ordinary that we ignore Him even when we see Him. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say that God knocks on the door of our lives every day. But the noise of our mind is so loud that we don't hear that faint sound. Imagine how strange it is that God is standing right next to us and we say, "Where is God? I can't see Him." In reality, He appears to us in many forms. Sometimes in the innocent smile of a child, sometimes in the kindness of a stranger, sometimes in the blessings of an elderly person, and sometimes in the soothing voice that arises from within. The only question is, do we recognize them? Often, moments in life come when you're surrounded by difficulties and suddenly a stranger helps you. At that moment, you assume them to be human and move on. But was they really just human? Or was there an invisible divine hand hidden behind them? Who knows? Maybe they're God Himself, testing you. Life isn't just about living, but a journey to discover the soul and connect with God. Every human being searches within for the truth that will bring them peace and immortality. Perhaps this is why difficulties don't come to break us, but rather to shape us. If you too want to know the various forms God takes with us, how we recognize Him, and how our love leads us to Him, then be sure to watch this video until the end. And yes, if this message touches your heart, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your loved ones. Yogananda used to say that God doesn't appear by name. He gives signs and sees if people recognize Him through those signs. Have you ever felt that when all paths seem closed, suddenly a voice arises from within? Don't worry, everything will be fine. Think about where that voice comes from. Is it just your mind or guidance from another realm? Everyone experiences a moment in life when a ray of hope suddenly appears amidst the darkness. Then the question arises, is this ray a coincidence or the gift of some unseen power? Perhaps this is the moment when God quietly descends into your life and stands with you without revealing His name. Life is a wonderful game. We think we're handling everything alone, but the reality is something else. God is with us every moment, but His signs are not visible to our eyes. He silently weeps. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say that when a person is completely despairing and all hope is shattered, God is closest. That is when an invisible hand holds us. The thing to consider at that moment is, whose hand was that? Of an ordinary human being or God Himself in disguise? The real question is not whether God comes to us or not, but whether we recognize Him when He comes. Because the life of those who recognize Him changes. We often forget that God is found not only in temples or idols, but also in our everyday lives. He appears in such ordinary forms that we overlook Him. This is the real secret. God comes hidden in ordinariness, and only those with sensitivity and deep understanding can recognize Him. Imagine how mysterious it is for God to stand before us and be ignored, thinking He's just an ordinary human being. Yogananda used to say, "This is a test. God wants to see if humans can understand His signals." The first sign is sudden help. When you're at the most difficult juncture in life and a stranger suddenly helps you, have you ever wondered who that person is? Perhaps you've never seen them before and may never see them again. They simply appear, ease your pain, and disappear. This isn't mere coincidence. It's God's presence supporting you through a stranger. But the problem is, we often say, it was just a coincidence. And this is where we make the biggest mistake. The second sign is the inner voice. How many times have you suddenly received a clear message from within, as if someone was guiding you along the right path, warning you of danger, or guiding you toward a decision? This is the voice of your conscience, and it is truly God's whisper, but we often ignore it. The question now is, are we ready to recognize those subtle signals? Because if so, every difficulty in life will actually become a hidden blessing from God. Have you ever felt that when you are close to making a wrong decision, a small voice arises from within? Don't do this. Stop. Don't go this way. And when you heed that voice, a major disaster is averted. Think about it. Whose voice was that? Was it just your thoughts? No. It was God guiding you through your inner self. But unfortunately, most people ignore that divine message and regret it later. Sometimes God sends his signals hidden in books or unknown words. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, God hides the answers to your questions in a line from a book, a line from a song, or a stranger's words. Have you noticed? When your mind is heavy and suddenly a sentence appears before your eyes, touching your heart, it doesn't happen just like that. It is God who places the answer to your question right in front of you. And yes, God's signs are not limited to words. Have you ever experienced that when you are in deep stress, a sudden peace descends within, as if someone has lifted a burden from your shoulders? It is this same supreme power that reassures you, don't worry, I am with you. But friends, the real mystery doesn't end here. Yogananda used to say that the third greatest sign from God is a test. Yes, difficulty is the moment when God stands closest. He puts us through difficulties to see whether we trust him or not. Suffering and distress are actually proof that God is shaping you, testing you. But most people give up in this test and start saying, "Where is God? If he were there, why would there be so much pain?" The truth is that that pain itself is proof of his presence. Think about it. Has your life ever felt like it was falling apart? Difficulties surrounded you from all sides? If so, understand that this isn't just a struggle, but a test from God. He wants to see if you can recognize his presence. Remember, God never comes directly and says, "I am here." He only gives hints. Sometimes it feels like someone is standing nearby, but when you turn around, you see no one. Sometimes a stranger says something that touches the deepest recesses of your heart. In such moments, remember, that person was only a medium. The real messenger was God himself. This is the mystery of God. He comes into our lives every day, but in a hidden form. This hiddenness is the real test. Now imagine, if he stopped giving hints tomorrow, what would our lives be like? Perhaps dark, filled with fear. So the next time you receive a sign, don't ignore it. It may be that sign that will change your entire life. It's true that God is around us every day. The only difference is whether we recognize them or not. This is the real secret, and this is where a profound journey begins. What I'm going to share next are extremely subtle signs that Paramahansa Yogananda ji told his disciples about. But beware, these signs are as profound as they are amazing. If they are not understood with the right perspective, instead of realizing God's presence, a person can drift further away from him. Yogananda ji used to say that finding God is not difficult. The only difficulty is to open our eyes properly. God is not limited to any particular temple, mountain, or ritual. He is everywhere. In the air, in relationships, in love, in sacrifice. When a mother sings a song to lull her child to sleep, God is present in that moment. When a father struggles day and night for his family, God is present in that moment too. When a teacher selflessly imparts knowledge, that too is a form of God. But our mistake is that we think God can only be found in idols, bells, and rituals. The truth is that God is first found in humanity. When you feed a hungry person, console a crying person, or sit with a lonely person, at that very moment, you are directly touching God. Yogananda said that there is no need to go to mountains or caves to reach God. If your mind is clear and your intentions are pure, you will see Him every day, in every relationship and in every situation. He is in your mother's prayers, in your father's fatigue, in the smiles of your friends, and sometimes even hidden in the help of a stranger. The greatest sign of God is peace. When you speak the truth, when you help someone, when you do good without any selfish motive, the peace that comes to your mind is the clearest evidence of God's presence. If you recognize that peace, understand that God is standing right beside you. Have you ever felt that when you're very sad and suddenly a child comes and makes you laugh, your heart feels lighter? That moment is God's message that life isn't just about sorrow. It also contains joy. Or when a path suddenly opens in a difficult situation and help arrives, understand that God Himself has opened that door. But remember, only one with a pure heart can recognize God. If the mind is filled with anger, jealousy, and greed, God cannot be seen even when He is right there. Just as a face cannot be seen clearly in a dirty mirror, God's face cannot be seen in a dirty mind. So if you truly want to meet God daily, first cleanse your inner self. Let go of jealousy, refrain from harming anyone, and cultivate the habit of doing good to others. Gradually, you will realize that God is everywhere, not in grand miracles, but in small things. When a stranger gives you water without being asked, that is God. When an elderly person blesses you by placing their hand on your head, that is God. When a friend listens to your troubles and sits with you without a word, that is the true God. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, "A person's life is complete when they learn to see God everywhere, both within and without." Once they have recognized God, fear and loneliness vanish from their lives, because they trust that an invisible power is with them at all times. This experience gives them strength even in the most difficult situations. Recognizing God doesn't require any great knowledge or difficult spiritual practice. This journey is not external, but internal. Simply purifying your heart and filling your life with truth and love is the true solution. When your vision becomes pure, you will find that God appears before you every day in some form or another. Sometimes in someone's smile, sometimes in a cool breeze, sometimes in a small support, and sometimes in the help of a stranger. The only question is, are you ready to see Him? Yogananda used to say that the path to God is simple, but full of truth. It doesn't require retreating to caves in the jungles or performing elaborate rituals. True worship is living a life filled with truth, compassion, and gratitude. The first path is to listen to your conscience. Every human being has a gentle voice within that tells us what is right and wrong. When we ignore that voice, life becomes complicated. When we listen to it, it is what leads us to God. The second path is service and help. When you help someone who is suffering, you become a part of God's work in that very moment. Feeding a hungry person, comforting a sad person, or loving a child, These are all moments when God is working through your hands and words. The third path is love and compassion. Where there is true love, God Himself is present. If there is bitterness or hatred in the heart, divinity is lost. But when compassion awakens in your heart, whether it's in feeding an animal, caring for the sick, or giving a smile to a stranger, those moments are evidence of God's presence. The fourth path is silence and meditation. We often lose God's voice in the noise of the world. But when you sit quietly for a few moments every day, close your eyes and look within, you encounter the peace hidden deep within. That peace is the form of God. Gradually, this experience fills your life, and you understand that you are never alone. The fifth path is gratitude. There is no greater practice than gratitude. If you say thank you, Lord, to the first rays of the morning light, to the food on a plate, to the affection of family, you connect directly with Him. Gratitude makes life light, sweet, and divine. Friends, finding God is not difficult. It simply requires purifying your heart. When you embrace truth, love, service, silence, and gratitude, you will realize that God is not somewhere outside, but is standing with you every moment. You have satisfied your hunger. When someone asks you, "How are you?" smile and say, "Thank you, you remembered me." This simple response lightens your heart and gradually connects your soul to that supreme power. Imagine if you adopt a few small habits every day, listening to your inner voice, helping others, living with love, maintaining peace, and being grateful. Your perspective will change. Then you will begin to see God everywhere. When you recognize God, fear begins to disappear from life. Then you understand that no matter how difficult the times, an invisible power is always standing with you. Recognition also eliminates loneliness, because you realize you're never truly alone. Even suffering seems small, because behind every pain lies a hidden lesson, and behind every challenge lies God's plan. Friends, the truth is that God is no mystery. He is present to us every day. We just need to open our hearts. When you embrace truth, think well of others, and listen to the call of your conscience, you realize that God has always been with you. Paramahansa Yogananda taught us this: reaching God doesn't require elaborate rituals. All that's needed is a pure heart. God appears before us every day, in the form of a smile, a helping hand, a blessing, or the peace of our own soul. The only difference is whether we recognize Him or not. If you recognize Him, your perspective on life will change. And if you fail, you'll spend your entire life asking, "Where is God?" even though He is right there in front of you. The simplest way to connect with God is peace of mind, and peace is found only when we turn away from the external pursuits and return within. Only the person who begins to meet himself realizes that the greatest wealth in this world is spiritual happiness. Spirituality does not mean that a person renounces the world, but rather that he remains connected to God within, even while living in the world. True spiritual life begins when a person learns to let go of his ego and live with humility and love. The soul is immortal, while the body is fleeting. However, in delusion, man considers the body to be his everything and forgets the soul. Man's greatest enemy is his anger, and his closest friend is his patience. Spirituality teaches us to balance these two. To attain God, neither long journeys nor outward show are necessary. Rather, a true mind and a pure heart are required. Meditation is the practice that connects a person with his soul, and this union leads him to God. The joys and sorrows of life come to test the soul. The wise one is one who accepts them as God's will. All relationships in this world are temporary, but the bond between the soul and the Supreme Being is eternal. When a person recognizes the light within, no darkness can touch him. The essence of spirituality is compassion, forgiveness, and universal love. God is with us every moment. We just need to open our inner eyes. The happiness of the soul is superior to anything in the world. One who attains this bliss never strays into external desires. Silence is the first step of spiritual life, for only in silence can one hear the voice of God. Meditation takes the mind on a journey from the external to the internal. Reaching God does not require a long journey, for He is already present in our hearts. The power of meditation is so profound that it transforms even the most troubled mind into peace. The one who has conquered himself is the true conqueror of this world. Man's true journey is not external, but internal. One who has attained self-realization no longer needs any other knowledge. Prayer acts as a bridge between man and God. The most sacred thing in life is one's intention. If intentions are pure, actions automatically become auspicious. God's pleasure is not attained through external pomp, but through true love and devotion. A true devotee is one who sees God everywhere, be it the shade of a tree, the flow of a river, or the laughter of a poor person. Those who seek God only in temples know only half the truth. The full truth is revealed when we experience Him in everything. God is in our every breath. Until the mind is pure, external worship remains incomplete. Finding God is not difficult. What is difficult is to bow our mind at His feet. The true meaning of spirituality is to live every moment with love, peace, and gratitude. God hears our prayers, but answers only when the time is right. Therefore, patience is the most profound practice. The essence of yoga is the union of the soul and the Supreme Being. Calming the mind is the greatest penance. A truly spiritual person is one who finds joy in serving others. The simplest path to please God is forgiveness and compassion. The most precious asset in the world is inner peace. Every moment of life is a gift from God, and every breath is His gift. Spirituality teaches us not to be jealous of anyone, because God has created a unique path for every soul. One who believes in God is never afraid. The true meaning of devotion is to surrender one's ego at the feet of God. This is true life and true spirituality. This life is a place of penance, and a true seeker is one who remains calm and pure within, even amidst the hustle and bustle of the world. Love is the bridge that connects a person to God. This is why love is called the most sacred gift of creation. When a person recognizes his soul, the fear of death vanishes instantly, and every struggle in life begins to give him a new direction. Suffering and difficulties are not obstacles, but tests of the soul. They refine human consciousness and gradually move him towards God. If you look at nature, every flower, every leaf, and every gust of wind makes you feel the living presence of God. God loves simplicity. He resides in a heart free from deceit, fraud, and complexity. The essence of spirituality is that we abandon anger, greed, and attachment and embrace compassion, service, and devotion. If you truly want to find God, first learn to lose your ego and selfishness. There's no need to search outside, because the ultimate truth awaits you within in silent meditation. A true saint is one who can glimpse God in every person, every creature, and every situation. When the soul is recognized, both life and death seem like a game. This understanding alone gives a person true freedom and peace. If this message touched your heart, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with your loved ones to delve deeper into this spiritual journey. Maybe your one small step will lead someone else's soul to the light.